Egg prices are through the roof, and I can't tell you how many friends have asked me, Chai-Ming, should I get backyard chickens? So I know the thought of fresh eggs is really, really appealing, especially when prices have really jacked up. But is it really worth it for you? Let's break it down. If you're new around here, I'm Chai-Ming, a garden designer and educator here in Los Angeles, California, and I have backyard chickens back there. Also, a cat. He's our urban rat control who probably should be fired, but he's lucky he's so dang cute. So back to chickens. Should you get them? So let's talk about the positives of having backyard chickens. Obviously, fresh eggs. Since you can control what your hens are eating, you can feel more confident that you have better tasting and healthier eggs. Chickens are great for pest control and they're natural composters. So what happens at my house is they get all my food waste from the kitchen. They also get all the weeds that we pull from the garden. I don't use any pesticides, so they get to eat all the fresh greens, and it really helps me close the loop at my house. I'm not a chicken cuddler. You can do that if you want. I'm not a chicken cuddler. I'm more of a furry animal person. However, they are very endearing and very cool animals. When I call my chickens, they come running, especially for snacks. I also got chickens because I thought it would be a great way to teach my kids about sustainability and where your food comes from in an urban environment. I live in LA, so we don't have farmland where we can actually own other animals and have livestock. So chickens are one small thing that I can show my kids on at least where the eggs come from. So we don't have our chickens as meat birds. However, I've always wanted to learn the process of raising your chickens and then dispatching them for food. Just haven't gotten there yet. So in terms of sustainability, I mentioned a couple things already where they reduce... Sorry, this is really distracting that he's watching the rain fall on the greenhouse. Back to sustainability and chickens. So I mainly got them because we reduce our food waste at home. I reduce a lot of my garden waste. I grow so much food and so many plants at home that it's really nice that instead of sending it to the green waste bin, they are going to my chickens. Also, they're natural composters. So in goes weeds, out comes chicken manure, and once that gets composted down, it's fantastic for my crops. Now here are the challenges and costs behind raising chickens. Obviously, this number can flex and depends on where you live, what standards you have in terms of aesthetics, and also how many chickens you have. So the initial minimum setup, you're going to need a coop. You're going to need somewhere that they can eat, and then you're going to need somewhere they can have their water. And depending on if you're starting from chicks or from pullets, I've done both, so I can speak to both. If you do chicks, you're going to need a heat lamp. You're going to need about 3 to 4 months, depending on your climate, to wait for the chicks to grow, to have their feathers grow out. And it is very cute. It is really dirty. It is very messy, and it's a little stinky. So if you don't have a spare room, or if you don't want to let it take over your garage, this may not be the route for you. Now, if you start from pullets, meaning they're anywhere around 4 months old, that means their feathers have fully grown out and they can withstand low night temperatures, not very low, but lower, right? So we're talking full into spring, and it protects them. So let me pause right there. My friend Anne, Real Hens of OC, actually wrote a book on Backyard Chickens 101. I took about 2 years to decide if I'm getting chickens or not, and I highly recommend her book. Every single person who's thinking about getting chickens needs to own her book because soup to nuts, it's all the things that you could possibly want to know before getting chickens. I had my kids read it. We went through and planned the process of having chickens. So at the time of recording this video, she has nearly 5,000 reviews, all 4.5 to 5 stars, and a must read. And I'll drop a link below for you. So back to commitments. Now you could buy a really cheap coop. You could probably build a very cheap coop, but I will tell you that chickens live approximately on average 7 years. So I would recommend investing in a better coop that you don't have to upgrade because it's going to be a pain in the butt to upgrade. I have a roost and root coop. It is more of an investment. However, we've had no problems with it. It is a fantastic structure. It was really easy to put together. And when you're picking your coop, you really want to think about when you have to clean it, how easy it is to clean, because some of these coops are very cute and they're small, but if you can't get in there and get all the poop out, chickens poop a lot. Throughout the season, you're going to need to muck everything out, and if you can't get inside, you're not going to be able to get all the nooks and crannies, and it's just not going to be clean. And chickens, they're not no maintenance. So they're lower maintenance in terms of animals, where like he needs to be fed daily and he needs attention and he needs to be pet. My dogs need to be walked daily, whereas chickens, they're pretty hands-free, hands-off, but the cleaning occasionally is still going to be an issue. So make sure you get a coop that you can get into and clean properly. So the other thing to think about is your time commitment. Yes, I just talked about how you could probably leave a lot of food and water for the chickens and you don't really have to watch too much, especially if you have an automatic door and they can come in and out at night and during the day. But you'll need to collect for eggs every few days at minimum. You really want to make sure that no predators have broken into their space. Also, one more thing, before you even go look at coops is look up your city and see if you're allowed to have chickens. Not everybody's allowed to have chickens. Certain cities limit you to 2 chickens, 5 chickens, 10 chickens, depending on where you live. And most cities in urban areas will not let you have roosters. This is going really deep now, but if you get chicks, if you buy them straight run, that means you don't know if they're male or female. If you buy them sexed, they've either been sexed, meaning they were handled in such a way that is invasive for the chick and can be traumatic, or these chicks have different feathers at hatching and you can tell if they're male or female. Now, fast forward. If you have chicks that then reveal themselves as roosters, you need to figure out what is your next step. Are you going to dispatch and turn that into food? Are you going to adopt it out to someone else who will raise their rooster, and can they have roosters in their space? A lot of people can't have roosters, so often this becomes an issue. What you don't want to do is drop them off at the animal shelter. There are so many roosters that don't have homes. If you are getting chicks, have the end in mind of what you're going to do. What is your rooster plan? I'm not allowed to have roosters. I wish I could, but our city doesn't allow it. They are fantastic for a flock and they're just so cool. They're obviously really beautiful, all the wonderful feathers. Now, you'll also need a coop and a run. So I have a coop and then I have a run. The coop is secure and the run is open air. But the run is separated from the rest of my backyard because when I didn't have the run separated, they had full access and they ate a lot of plants and they pooped everywhere, including on furniture. Your coop needs to be predator proof, and I'm sure there's tons of videos on how to do that on YouTube, but also my friend's book has all of that info. You're going to want 4 square feet per bird inside the coop and then at least 10 square feet per bird on the outside for a healthy flock. In terms of feed, I feed mine layer feed because now they are laying eggs. I've read one way to save money is to make your own chicken feed, but I'm not there yet. It's a little bit easier for me to purchase layer feed that's already formulated and perfect for my hens to stay healthy and well fed. So you want access to water, clean water daily. So they'll need roosts to stand and rest in the coop. And they'll also need nesting boxes where they're going to lay their eggs. And on a note for predator protection, I've been having to deal with it lately and it's not what you think. I have one yellow lab, sweet angel baby. He leaves the chickens alone. He's interested, but his prey drive is in check. Whereas I have this husky, and her prey drive is insane. So I've had to reinforce my gate. I've had to make sure that she does not have access to the chickens, and it hasn't always been perfect. So I've lost a couple chickens, not to hawks, eagles, raccoons, possums, none of that. I lost to my dog. So if you have a dog, definitely think about, does it make sense adding a flock as well? Okay, so here are some beginner mistakes. There's something called chicken math, and adding too many chickens too fast is a problem. You want to start small before expanding, because once you start, you can't stop. Spend time researching what breeds you want, because not all chickens lay the big eggs that you see at the store. Some chickens that are super cute, they lay smaller eggs, and if your main goal is egg production, you're gonna have to pick a different chicken. Also, not all chickens lay an egg every single day, and they don't always lay in winter. So right now, I might have chickens, but I'm getting 1 egg a day total out of my entire flock at best. And some days I'm not getting eggs. Chickens naturally take a break during winter, so you may not get eggs during winter. So in addition, it takes 4 to 6 months for a baby chick to mature and start laying eggs. So let's say it's February, you got chicks. The soonest you would get eggs is June, maybe July, maybe August. So definitely take into account when you want those eggs and if it makes sense. There are certain breeds that have been bred to lay more eggs, but they may not be the pretty chicken or the large chicken that you wanted. When you're looking into the chicken breeds, pay attention to your environment. If you have a hot area, if you have a cool area, there's heat tolerant and cool tolerant birds, and also the number of eggs they lay. So most breeds are ranked in terms of how many eggs they lay. So let's say there's 365 days in a year. Some chickens lay 250 eggs a year. Now, is 2/3 of the year enough for you? Or do you want to find a chicken that is a very heavy egg layer and they are laying over 300 eggs a year? I know I just dropped a ton of chicken information on you, but let's back up and talk about how much are eggs truly. So eggs right now at the time of this video are somewhere around almost $1 a piece if it is a organic or free-ranged large egg. Let's actually do a little bit of math. I spent 17 years in finance, so I'm gonna try to simplify it for you. So let's pretend that you need to sink in, for easy numbers, $1,000 to start your flock, right? Let's say it in 1 year's time. So let's say you bought a $500 coop. Let's say you put in another $200 for infrastructure, for making a fenced off area to protect your chickens. Then let's say you spent another $200 on actually getting the chickens and getting them squared away. And then there's your chicken feed. So let's say all of that together was $1,000 in your first year. And let's say right now, egg prices are about $1 an egg for a higher quality, free range, maybe organic egg. So that means you get 1,000 eggs. So if we're going side by side, right? So let's pretend homegrown versus store-bought egg. Right now, it's about $1 something per egg, and let's say you sunk $1,000 in that first year. If we're going to try to compare equally, you're getting 1,000 eggs in that first year, which is 83 dozen. So you're looking at about 19 eggs a week. Now, my family, I have a family of 4. So let's do a little bit of chicken math to help you figure out how many chickens you need and whether it makes sense. So for example, my family of 4, let's say we eat 2 eggs a day, 5 days out of the week. So that means we need 40 eggs. Now, 1 chicken can only produce 1 egg per day. So if we are eating 2 eggs per day per person, that means we need at least 8 chickens, and that's if every single one of them laid 1 egg per day. Now, in order to make sure that if 1 chicken did not lay an egg, that another one does, and so that we would have our 8 eggs per day, we probably want 10 to 12 chickens in order to fulfill the 8 eggs per day minimum. So you can see how very quickly this all adds up. In certain times of the year, you're going to have an overflow of eggs. But in other times of the year, you will have no eggs because they don't lay year round. So you really have to weigh, does it make sense? And you have to really ask yourself, do you have the bandwidth to raise these animals? My chickens go through a bag of chicken feed that costs $60 a month. It's not like you get the coop, you get the chickens, and then you're home free. You still do need to feed your chickens. And there are definitely ways to lower your feed costs. But more chickens means more feed, which means more money. So when you're comparing free eggs from my backyard, it's not really free. So really, are you saving money by having chickens? Because they're not guaranteed to lay eggs every single day. Whereas if you were to buy them from the market, yes, there is a higher cost right now, but you get eggs. So just something to consider. During the winter, I still buy eggs just because I don't have enough chickens. I don't have enough space to have a very large flock. I threw a ton of chicken info at you, but if you have any questions or you want more chicken info, please let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them. With that, I'll see you in the next one.